Next in line for COVID-19 vaccines in Ontario.
We know those who are over the age of 80 are certainly at greater risk of having a severe outcome from this infection. So I think that's the biggest key addition.
Adults 80 and over among those placed on the priority list. Plus,
no one should be afraid to go to work in the morning, especially when what they're doing at work is trying to keep other people safe.
Niagara Region's top doctor allegedly threatened over COVID-19 restrictions. The latest on the police investigation. And high school sweethearts start a candy company during the pandemic, all in time for Valentine's Day.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Good evening. I'm Marivel Tarouk. The province says it will be expanding the list of priority groups eligible to get the COVID-19 vaccination. According to the head of Ontario's vaccination task force, that list includes all adults 80 years of age and older. CBC's Greg Ross has more.
We're going to start to see the benefits of mass vaccination programs ramping up in the country.
Infectious disease specialist Dr. Isaac Bogosh is part of Ontario's COVID-19 distribution task force. He says after a slow start to the vaccine rollout in Canada, things should start to pick up dramatically after it was announced that the delivery of 9 million doses of the vaccine have been moved up. And that means more shots in arms, particularly for those in the highest risk category.
We know those who are over the age of 80 are certainly at greater risk of having a severe outcome from this infection. So I think that's the biggest key addition.
Adults 80 and over are among those next in line to be vaccinated in phase 1.
The sooner the better.
That's great news for Margaret Downey, who has rarely been able to leave the confines of her apartment in a retirement home in Haliburton.
I do crossword puzzles, I knit, I read a great deal. I look at the view.
She also has a daily Zoom call with her 97-year-old husband, who is in a long-term care home. She'd rather see him in person.
I know that if I get it, I could visit him.
She's also about to be cut off from other members of her family. Downey's daughter has been quarantining in order to see her mother, but she's a school teacher set to return to the classroom next week. Once that starts, visits with her mom end.
School starts on Tuesday. I probably won't see her till summer.
Downey says she's going to be counting the days until she can start living her life the way she did before the pandemic.
I did play a lot of bridge before, so I would love to get out with my bridge friends. I love to get to restaurants.
Other groups being considered under the next priority rollout include staff, residents, and caregivers in retirement homes, healthcare workers at the high priority level, all Indigenous adults, and adult recipients of chronic home care. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
These empty parking lots at Canada's Wonderland will be converted into a drive-through COVID-19 vaccination site. It'll serve York Region come spring when mass immunizations are slated to begin. It will accommodate 8 lanes of traffic where people will be able to receive their shots. Officials are also planning to use a local FM radio station to broadcast instructions to drivers. Plans for other sites include the Markham Fairgrounds and the Soccer City facility in Stouffville. The next stage of the province's vaccination efforts is set to begin next month. The province reported under 1,000 new cases today, with 42 more people with COVID-19 losing their lives. Peel Region with the most cases at 209, York reporting 171, followed by Toronto with 122. 705 people are currently hospitalized with the virus, 92 of which are in intensive care units, and 203 are on ventilators. The province's rollout plans come as Pfizer Canada's president says millions more COVID-19 vaccine doses will soon be shipped, giving Canada far more than expected by spring and summer. Cole Pinnow was speaking on CBC's Rosemary Barton Live.
We communicated the disruption in delivery. It was purposeful. That we were making upgrades to our Belgium manufacturing facility with the intention of being able to increase our global capacity from 1.3 billion to 2 billion.
Canada was already set to receive 400,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine this week. With delivery moved up, Canada will now get about 9 million more doses than expected between April and August. Well, starting tomorrow, anyone coming into Canada for non-essential reasons will face new rules at land border crossings. They'll have to show proof of a negative COVID-19 test. Dahlia Ashry has more on the details and the concerns.
For those traveling by air, there's already strict travel restrictions in effect. And for people traveling by land and crossing the border,
something that was quite simple, getting in your car and driving home, has now become a very difficult scenario.
With the exception of essential workers and truckers, starting tomorrow, travelers arriving at Canada's borders will need to show proof of a negative COVID-19 test taken in the United States within 72 hours of their arrival, or a positive test taken 14 to 90 days before arrival. And starting February 22nd, travelers will need to be tested for COVID-19 upon arrival and then tested again toward the end of their 14-day quarantine. Martin Firestone, a travel broker in Toronto, says land travelers could run into some challenges, like an outdated test or the risk of facing fines of up to $3,000.
So you run into some bad traffic or bad weather and things like that, it's conceivable you could have had that test done, and now you're racing against time to make sure it still falls within the 72 hours.
Canada Border Services Agency confirmed to CBC Toronto today 93% of essential workers are exempt from quarantine requirements. But when it comes to COVID-19 testing, that could change.
Looking at implementing a system of regular testing to help protect those essential workers and truck drivers that are coming into the country, and also to ensure that they're not the source of any new infection.
With over 100,000 trucks crossing a week, concerns from those in the trucking industry.
You put a severe strain on the ability to try and get goods and services to the market, because you would have hours and hours long backup.
5 land ports of entry will have on-site testing as of February 22nd. And 11 additional ports as of March 4th. And for people traveling by land who already received their COVID-19 vaccines in the U.S., Public Health Canada says they'll still be required to follow the new rules. Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
A potential exposure to COVID-19 on a flight from Toronto to Halifax has been detected. Nova Scotia's Public Health Unit says anyone who was on WestJet Flight 3340 leaving Toronto on February 11th at 9:47 p.m. and arriving in Halifax on the 12th at 1:10 a.m. sitting in rows 10 to 16, seats A, C, and D, are asked to get tested immediately. All other passengers are asked to continue to self-isolate and monitor for symptoms up to and including February 26th. 5 cases of the South African variant have been detected at a condo building in Mississauga, prompting widespread COVID-19 testing for all residents there. Peel Public Health said they are taking this urgent step now while community spread of the B1351 variant is still low. The region's medical officer of health, Dr. Lawrence Lowe, said around 1,800 residents and staff are affected. Testing will be conducted floor by floor starting tomorrow. In the meantime, all residents are asked to self-isolate and limit contact with people outside their household unless essential. Peel region reported the first case of the South African variant in the province earlier this month in a Mississauga man who officials say likely acquired the virus through community spread. Maple Ridge Public School in Durham region has confirmed 2 cases of COVID-19 in students at the school. The children are from the same household and were last in the building on Monday, February 8th and Tuesday, February 9th, the school says. A letter sent to parents by the school said a positive case at a school does not necessarily mean the individuals were exposed to COVID-19 at the school. They may have been exposed somewhere else in the community. The Durham Region Health Department has directed that students in 2 classes and 1 bus must self-isolate for 14 days. Here's a look at Niagara Falls tonight. Police in the region investigating allegations of threats against a top doctor. The medical officer of health was allegedly targeted over COVID-19 restrictions. Talia Ricci has the details on the investigation.
On the same day, the province announced Niagara region would emerge from a full shutdown, but with restaurants still limited to takeout only, these messages appeared, perceived as threats against Niagara's medical officer of health.
People have been really angry in the last 2 days since they found out they can't go back to making a living.
Restaurant owner Mark Wood helps run a Facebook group that's been blamed for the threats. He says he doesn't agree with the continued restrictions, but also does not condone violence.
The way that's being pointed at our Facebook group is a little unnecessary. We will do our best to monitor that situation and make sure that nobody supports or promotes that in any way.
Ontario's Premier and the Prime Minister were among those who spoke out against the alleged threats. Dr. Mustafa Hirji took to Twitter Saturday saying, "I'm deeply humbled by the volume and breadth of support." Regional police say they're aware of the posts and are investigating. But this isn't the first time public health officials have been targeted during the pandemic.
I've had to have security in my house. I've had death threats.
Top doctors in BC, Saskatchewan, and Windsor, Ontario have spoken publicly about the dark side of their roles. In December, an anti-masker made racist comments against Dr. Saqib Shahab as a group protested outside his home.
I feel sorry for my good neighbors who didn't deserve to be harassed like this, and also for my family.
Windsor's medical officer of health has said he turns online bullying into a teachable moment for his son.
What people do, it's beyond our control.
The Canadian Medical Association says the bullying of public health officials in Canada must stop immediately. So does the group for Ontario doctors.
No one should be afraid to go to work in the morning, especially when what they're doing at work is trying to keep other people safe.
The partially loosened restrictions go into effect in Niagara region on Tuesday. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
In Ottawa today, people getting some exercise on the ice told us what they think about the city's reopening.
I don't think a lot would change for us. Every time that they relax these measures, there's a ripple effect.
We still see some family, but we're, 10 feet apart. There's no hugs, and and I'm not just saying that because it's Valentine's Day.
Starting on Tuesday, gyms, restaurants, theaters, and personal care services can reopen across all of Eastern Ontario. Ottawa will be in the orange restrict zone, which means restaurants and gyms are limited to 50 patrons at a time, and restaurants must close at 10 p.m. There's a live look at the Toronto skyline. The city is expected to get quite snowy tomorrow. A snowfall warning has been issued for the city and a number of other regions, with 15 to 25 centimeters expected to fall Monday into Tuesday. Environment Canada is warning those traveling to watch out for difficult conditions. And those are exactly the conditions that Sophia gave us a heads up on yesterday. So we're getting snowy the next couple days, I guess.
Oh yeah, don't let the lull and those clear sky visuals fool you. The wintry weather is not far around the corner. Yeah, it was a nice break for Valentine's Day, but all of that changes over the next little while. Active storm track, a 1-2 punch, 2 storm systems, Monday and Tuesday. Now, the first one, the Monday system, will be a bit of the appetizer. The Tuesday is the more potent system with the bigger snowfall totals. I want to go over the timing with you, though. So Monday, widespread, about 5 centimeters approximately, and then it's Monday evening, the heavier snow pushes in, along with really gusty winds as well. So if you are planning an evening commute anywhere, you want to make sure you're driving according to the conditions. That heavy snow push Monday evening right into Tuesday afternoon, and we're talking some pretty impressive snowfall totals. You alluded to the Miraval, upwards of 30 centimeters in some places around the Niagara region with both of these 2 storm systems together. 15 to 25 centimeters, that includes those of you in the city of Toronto, and some pretty impressive totals along the 401 and 407 corridors as well. We'll talk more about the cold and the wind expected with this when we return.
To see the Foundry saved. I want this community to be listened to. I want this community's needs and their desire to preserve this part of their history to be recognized by the province. They're doing all they can. What they deserve is a provincial government that will listen to them and that will support their efforts to preserve this part of their history.
A Valentine's-themed demonstration happened at the Dominion Foundry today. City Councillor Kristen Wong-Tam and Annamie Paul, leader of the Green Party, were there in support. The demonstrators wore red and hung hearts to show their love for the historical site in the West Don Lands. Demolition of the building was put on hold after community members rallied to save the buildings. The matter will be heard in court later this month. Mississauga's own Hazel McCallion turned 100 today.
So impressed with the reaction of the people to my 100th birthday. This day has been just such a wonderful turnout of support and tribute. I just can't believe it.
Her lawn was decorated with dozens of pink flamingos and balloons. McCallion is one of the longest-serving mayors in Canada. She was mayor of Mississauga from 1979 to 2014. She is affectionately known as Hurricane Hazel, but also for being a trailblazer for women in politics. Many celebrated the city creating a virtual video tribute, and the Prime Minister sending his greetings too.
She is a force of nature, and she'll be celebrating her 100th birthday this weekend. Happy birthday, dear friend, and thank you for everything you've done and everything you continue to do.
Attributed to a healthy diet and exercise, and occasionally her favorite drink, a bit of sherry. Cheers to you, Hazel. We'll have more on CBC Late Night News after a short break. Stay with us. Variants of COVID-19 have now been found in all 10 provinces, increasing the threat at the same time as many places are looking to reopen. CBC's Stephanie Mercier has this report on the virus variants across the country.
A Sunday farmers market in Vancouver still draws crowds, distanced and masked, of course, measures we've all gotten used to fight the spread of COVID-19.
We have limits on the amount of people that are in each of the stalls. We regulate the amount of people through. There's hand sanitizer at the front.
But what about fighting something more contagious? Variants of the novel coronavirus have been seen in every province. The most widespread, the B.1.1.7 variant, first identified in the UK. Alberta and Ontario have among the highest numbers of known variants so far, with modelling in Ontario suggesting they account for up to 10% of new cases. Manitoba also announcing 7 probable cases in a remote First Nation. And there's the sudden spike in Newfoundland that forced the province to abandon in-person voting. In BC, officials are stressing variants account for just a small minority of cases.
It was 0.1% that we're seeing right now.
Good news for now, but what about in a few weeks? Even in BC, modelling is showing the situation could look very different.
By March, failure to contain these variants in January and February, actually you start seeing growth that is not controlled by the measures we have today.
Experts say the trend lines could spell disaster if changes aren't made. Yet some provinces are starting to loosen restrictions. Alberta opening bars and gyms, Manitoba, restaurants and salons, Quebec and Ontario also rolling back some measures. BC is staying the course, but some say that's not likely to be enough.
We need to be sort of jumping up and down and really trying to put out those sparks of outbreaks, specifically around variants of concern. So doing something extra for those to really try to prevent or at least delay their establishment for many months until vaccination is making more of an impact than it can make in the next, say, 6 weeks.
Measures she says we should take immediately, or perhaps should have taken already. Stephanie Mercier, CBC News, Vancouver.
I love baking, I love eating food, sweets, so this was a perfect opportunity for me to put a passion of mine into the world for others to enjoy.
I don't really like chocolate at all.
Which is ironic.
They put the sweet in high school sweethearts. And now this creative couple is rolling in the dough. Coming up, meet the Toronto teens who started a candy company during the pandemic just in time for Valentine's Day. A pair of high school sweethearts are spreading the love this Valentine's Day. The 16-year-olds started a home-based treats business 2 months ago. It's called Sweet Sweets. And the Toronto teens say it's just the beginning of their confectionery journey.
We were really bored over the pandemic, and Sammy just turned to me and asked if we wanted to start a business, and I was fully in agreement.
And also, we were supposed to be camp counselors, and that obviously didn't happen. I love baking, I love eating food, sweets, so this was a perfect opportunity for me.
I don't really like chocolate at all.
Which is ironic. He bakes like cakes and cookie dough and banana bread, and then I'm the one who puts them together and decorates and designs. The cookie dough pretzels were just kind of spontaneous. We tried them and we were like, oh my God, that's amazing. And the rest of the stuff, we saw it all over the place and we're like, wow, this is a great idea. We've added our own little touches to make them unique. At the moment we do delivery and we can't even drive yet, so our parents are driving.
Right after we started blowing up,
it was impossible to be apart because you can't see what they're doing on their end, so we really needed to be together. So we have a bedroom now downstairs.
It's a lot of fun because we can bounce our ideas off of each other. But when we do something wrong, we take it more personally when we get mad at each other.
Yeah.
I love seeing the customers' reactions to our stuff. I love when they order something from us and their reaction once they get it, and then posting it all over social media and recommending us to everybody because how much they love what we make. I've been recognized once at the eye doctor for being on the news.
He took that. He was like, wow.
I felt really, really famous. It's definitely helped us learn about business a lot.
Definitely.
I've found out so much more about money and stuff than I would ever have at my age.
I don't think any of us thought it would end up like this. I know our parents probably want us to save for university. They've already talked about that, but we have other things in mind.
Our main goal right now is to open a store.
This is something that started during the pandemic, but this is something that we love and would love to continue out of it too. Our plan for Valentine's Day is eating a tray of sushi and probably eat like ice cream or something, not chocolate related.
I mean, those two are stars. They're going to get recognized everywhere now, Sophia.
Yeah, what a crafty, upbeat couple, eh? And they made me hungry too while they're at it.
Same here.
I wanted to show you these warnings and special weather statements while we were at it. We talked about it quickly a few minutes ago. In the blue, snowfall amounts expected 15 to 25 centimeters. That includes those of you in the city of Toronto, upwards of 30 for those of you Hamilton and Niagara region. That's like a month's worth of snow in one event. Folks, yes, we're talking about two storms, Monday into Tuesday. It's the big story right now. A lot of cold and a lot of wind as well, as I promised. Now, these totals are on top of some of the squalls that we are seeing right now on the Georgian and the Huron shores. Monday evening, when that really heavy snow picks up, you could have 50 to 60 kilometer-an-hour gusts as well, so be very cautious on the roadways. This two-day event involves some 2 days of cold as well. What feels like minus 17, what feels like minus 19, right into Tuesday, while the snow is still coming down, but there is a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. We return back up to seasonal. Thursday, Friday, we should be about -1, -2 this time of year. So we're close-ish to that, but the possibility of even more snow as we head into late week as well. Models are hinting at it. There's not a lot of confidence in it, this being so far out. But when you think about it, the 7-day snow totals could be pretty impressive.
Over just the first 2 days of the week at that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the heads up, Sophia. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. We're going to leave you with a live look at the Ambassador Bridge down in Windsor. Pretty in the lights there tonight. Have a great night, everyone, and have a safe week. Good night.